What's going on, everybody? This is Phil Bohol, founder of the Kor Initiative. Today, I have one of my top guys inside of the Kor Initiative going to be sharing with you how he brought his marriage from chaos to clarity. Corey, what's up, man? Glad to have you here with us.
Appreciate it, Phil, man. It's a pleasure.
Absolutely. So, tell everybody real quick where you are, what you do, and that way they get to know kind of who they're going to be learning from today.
Yeah, my name is Corey Sorensen. I'm 29. I'm in the Dallas area. So, business-wise, I'm into the insurance industry, property, casualty. I started as an adjuster. We're branching out, doing some other things now. But yeah, man, working with Phil has been great. We're learning how to apply that pressure the right way, you know, in a way that's sound and can really push us toward abundance in all areas. And it's a blessing, man. Can't express it
Yeah,
enough.
absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about your story, man, because what I'm thinking that a lot of people are going to come here with and learn from is the whole mindset of being a married man, running and operating his business, trying to grow for the family, but making sure that he doesn't leave his wife behind, he doesn't leave his family behind. And so, in order for us to kind of move forward with that and to share some of these unlocks that you've been able to have, let's go backwards and see, even before the Core Initiative, even before you and me started getting plugged in together, like how was life for you? How was marriage? How was your mindset? How was your operating system? Introduce us to that, Corey, so we can really see a contrast.
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up playing football, so I was always really competitive. But other than that, outside of that one specific area, I was a half-ass type individual. I wasn't really applying the pressure, making the battle plans, structuring things the way I should have. And I was a victim of limiting beliefs. Sometimes I still can be. I guess we're always fighting that fight. But for the most part, like I'll get straight to the marriage. I was always looking for me, putting me first. And if I could provide after, I did that, But what I've learned is, it's not about me, right? I can be a vessel. As long as I'm in alignment, we'll be good. But, you know, basically, I'll give you this picture of my relationship. I learned this concept about, the cups with Phil, your cup being full, your cup being empty. Well, when me and my wife, first met and the honeymoon phase wore off and, I got the house and we had, more responsibilities, we quickly started to see different friction than we had before when there wasn't that pressure, right?
Mhm.
Now, when that extra pressure came, what I did a lot of was, business, 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 put that first. And whatever I have left is what I'm pouring into her. Well,
Mhm.
you know, Phil says it all the time, but when that business isn't around anymore, she's going to be there. And if I've given everything I have to the business, then, where does that leave her? She's getting
Mhm.
leftovers, and that's not what she deserves. That's not
Yeah.
the right way to build a family. And I quickly found that out.
Yeah, 100%, man. And you said something interesting that I do want to unpack is why do you think that was your natural way of doing things? Like running and gunning, business, 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 not fully focusing on the marriage as much as you could have. Like, why do you feel like that was the default operating system? What I found is that comes from how we were raised. That comes from what we've seen coming up, right? So I tell a lot of people a lot of the times I'm a child of divorce. So as far as like operating in marriage, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. For the most part, I brought a lot of the baggage into the marriage, if anything, and that's what causes a lot of problems. So for you, why do you think it started off that way for you?
Yeah, I love that question because, we always got to get to the root of things. And growing up, things were good. I was a regular middle class kid. My dad did great. He taught me the business. So that's the first real thing I learned from, my hero, my
Mm-hmm.
provider is this is what we do, son. We go to fucking work and we don't bitch about it. Sorry my language, but we go to
No, you're
work
good.
and we don't cry, we don't complain. We get to work and what I guess that he was kind of the same way. Like we take care of this first because we need to eat, and
Mm-hmm.
then sometimes the relationships become strained because of it, and everybody catered to him. But what I've realized is if there would have been more people in my family that also adopted his mindset of like, I guess, the tenacity and the work ethic, we wouldn't have all had to cater to him because we could have all contributed. And now
Mm-hmm.
that's something I'm seeing in my life. He didn't have any help, so he's taking care of, his kids. He's taking care of cousins. He's taking care of so many different households that he was keeping in the game, keeping, and it's just like, man, the older I get, the more mature I get, the more I look at that situation and I'm like, wow, he really laid that first brick, and
Mm-hmm.
it's my responsibility to take that to the next level. Cuz for a long time I was like, how do I figure things out so I can help him be perfect? But what I
Mm-hmm.
realized is, you know, I'm not him. I can't be him. He's done what he's done and I have to build upon that. So for me to
Mm-hmm.
expect him to be something else is like, it's not the most productive thing to do with our energy and our time.
Yeah, 100%. And one thing that always stood out to me about you was what you put when you onboarded with the Core Initiative. You put something that really made me think, man, we really are cut from the same cloth. Your biggest thing was being kind of like that black sheep in the bloodline. Like, I got to make sure that if I'm going to carry the family name, I got to carry it to the highest possible standard, but my way. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I do want to also kind of highlight for everybody, when you have that responsibility of being the black sheep, first brick is laid down, but it's like, okay, I got to take this shit all the way through. Sometimes it's easy to not know where to put your focus. And I think that sometimes that can also contribute to, putting the business first and running and gunning, hustling. Why did you kind of snap out of that and be like, oh, wait, I got to slow the fuck down for a second and I got to kind of reestablish what's important for me? What was that turning point that maybe opened up or led to the conversation you and me had about eventually plugging in?
Yeah, so even before I found your videos or whoever else I was watching, I was always into personal development,
Mm-hmm.
and that was great for me. But I feel like I kind of peaked in my like free personal development consumption type
Mm-hmm.
situation. Like I definitely could have been going harder, could have been doing better. But for what I was doing, I was comfortable in my routine. It worked. The results weren't there in my life. I mean, they were decent, but like I could see if I continue at this level, whatever my numbered overall is, it's not good enough. I need
Mm-hmm.
more. You know, my wife deserves more. My mom deserves more. My dad deserves more. My siblings, my nieces, my nephew, even myself. Like that was really the biggest thing I think is like I was numbing myself with vices. So, there wasn't a lot of clarity in my life. Like I just wake up, do what I wanted, and then I got deadlines today. I need to make these deadlines. And
Yeah.
then, 9 p.m. comes around, my wife hasn't seen me all day, and I'm like, oh, it's time to go to bed, babe. I gotta get up early in the morning because I gotta grind. But you just
Mm-hmm.
did whatever you wanted for the first 4 or 5 hours of the day before you even started working. And then on
Yep.
top of that, you didn't necessarily get up that early, brother. Like you got
Mm-hmm.
up 8, 9, and I just would look back on that so many times and I realized that's not who I wanted to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I was ready to give up some of those pieces of me. And it's not easy, but when you make that decision and you really make a decision, there's no way out of it anymore. Like it's cool to
Yep.
have a mentor that's like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. But at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, no, this is what we're doing. I don't care the circumstances. I don't care the adversity. Even if I lose, I'm gonna lose and be able to look at myself and be like, all right, if this situation arises again, we're not gonna have a problem with it.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, I love what you said, man. Because I think that we, in the digital age, everybody has access to whatever the fuck they want on the internet. You can go on YouTube and have every single
Right.
self help YouTube podcast, book, transcribed, whatever the fuck. And people think that you can be in that learning phase for a long time, but it's the application of it. And it's also being able to see it from
100%.
maybe an outside point of view, because when you do consume it, you have it only from your perspective. And sometimes you don't extract maybe what you want out of it or need from it to really get you going because there's no change of energy. You're just consuming things from your filter
Mm,
and seeing how does it apply to my life. And at some point, you kind of start taking it easy on yourself and you start finding different
yep.
excuses for why you should continue to operate. And it's until what you said, you start to get frustrated. You got to look in the mirror and be like, dude, like, I'm not satisfied with this shit and things have got to change. And I think that I connected with you on IG somewhere around that time because even when you and me talked, if I remember correctly, you told me straight up because I hit you up and I don't know what was happening, but you're like, dude, I'm not looking to plug into anything right now. That was us, right?
Yep, 100%.
And then and then I don't know what happened. I think I was asking you questions about things. What caused you to flip and just be like, you know what, this something does need to change? What happened in that conversation? Because I was curious about that, honestly, when we had it. Because I was like, yeah, bro, I just want to talk. I like to actually help people. So what happened for you in that moment?
Yeah, so I love that close too. That close is so awesome. I think about that all the time. So basically, me and Phil are having a conversation. You know, I'm throwing a little game, or he's throwing the game. I'm like listening, really trying to digest it and like, find some way to implement it, right? But I'm not that guy yet. Like I'm just not. I was still the lesser version of myself that was full of ego. And it's funny too because I thought like, no, I don't have ego, but it's just that was the ego telling me I didn't have an ego, and it's crazy how that works, right? So yeah, I was having these conversations with Phil, and it was great. Like I feel like I finally met somebody like-minded that I respected that could help me go to the next level. And I told him I didn't want to plug in because I didn't want to waste his time. And my reasoning for that at the time was I got all this overhead, man. I got this house, I got this mortgage, and then on top of that, I just bought a work truck. I'm out of town right now, so I don't think it'd necessarily be a good time to plug in. I'm out of town, dude. I'm working. I can't even devote the time that I need to. And then Phil basically he said, I told him about one of my vices, right? And it was smoking weed. So he tells me, he's like, yeah, man, a lot of people that smoke weed, they don't even really care to level up. They're too comfortable in what they got going on. And that just hit me, bro. Like that was exactly what I needed to hear. And I thought about that so many times over and over and over because I don't know if anything else that was said to me could have made me take the action that I needed to take. So that was like the first confirmation that this was the path I needed to be on, and this is exactly where I needed to go. And as soon as I saw that message, I literally sat in my hotel room just looking at it for like a good 10 minutes, I think. And then my next thing to him was like, all right, how much? I closed myself basically because he Jedi mind tricked me. And it was awesome, bro. Like I really am a fan of that moment because that was great. That was great. That was like some LeBron shit. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was funny because I was like, oh shit, there we go. And I was like, it's game time, bro. And so you came in
100%.
with the right mentality though. Like you were in it to win it. You didn't come in half-assed. And I do want to kind of extract some of your experience from that because I think the experience kind of making that decision within yourself, right? I was just asking questions, and at the end of the day, you looked at yourself and you said, "Dude, fuck this. I am done." You made that decision. But how you entered the brotherhood, I think, is the most impactful thing because that set you off on a lot of the changes that we're going to unpack here in a second. What was your experience coming into the brotherhood, and was it what you thought it was? Was it what you were expecting?
Um, to be honest, I don't really know what I was expecting, but
Mm-hmm,
what I will
mm-hmm,
s oh no, actually I do know. I do remember because I just thought about this the other day.
mm-hmm,
So, uh, you know, this ain't free. Mentorship isn't free. So you have
mm-hmm,
to invest resources. And again, that was the biggest reason why I didn't want to, right? Because I was like, I can't do it, bro. I can't do the resources right now. But then I finally overcame that, and within that, I was like, what was holding me back from just putting the numbers in? It's just numbers on a screen. Like why did that have so much power over me? That was one of the first breakthroughs I had, right? So I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, because I'm reading all these other guys testimonies and everything, and it was great. I really loved all of it. I did the first couple assignments. That was awesome as well. Like that really helped me, you know so I'll start here, right? So the first thing I learned in the group was about my own bandwidth, right? And then I'm like, all right, well, how do I deal with my own bandwidth? Like, only have a certain amount of energy, certain amount of bandwidth. How do I utilize that to be as productive as possible? You got to brain dump, right? So boom, I brain dumped, freed up the bandwidth. Now I was like operating for the next few days very sharp out of nowhere, and that's like one of the few things I changed. So I was like, so I'm gonna use the bandwidth, right? And then I finally got to the scarcity mindset of not wanting to join the group. And then I'm like thinking to myself, like, where else is that holding me back, right? Not even necessarily just scarcity in money, but like scarcity in time, scarcity in energy. Like, what am I doing that's slowing me down? And then I realized that I'm having a lot of situations just in all areas where I'm just scared to invest because, oh, what if I go here and it doesn't work out? So basically, I'm playing small, right? And then even on the
Hmm.
first call, I think you said something about playing small, and you had and that stuck with me, right? So that stuck with me. So I'm like, all right, if I'm how am I playing small though if I'm like making decent money? And then I'm thinking about I'm like it's all mindset that's really gonna push me to the next level because I'm trying to change myself. I'm trying to be a different me. I need to be sharper. I need to be a better version. So what do I need to do to get to the next level? Like that was constantly a question, and calls were amazing, man. The assignments were great. And even after some assignments, I would still slip, right? And you also talk about, you're gonna have days that aren't necessarily your best, and maybe you go backwards. Well, just make sure instead of taking 17 steps, you just take two backwards. Hold the
Hmm.
line and then keep it moving. But yeah, that first breakthrough with the scarcity, that was I feel like I see that lesson over and over, even as I move forward. Like there's still times where I don't want to maybe renew for the next whatever, and I'm like, but I need this. I need this.
Hmm.
This is gonna take me and get me to where I need to go.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to talk about how this translates to like marriage too and leading the family because it is scarcity mindset that affects us to do anything. It's scarcity sometimes in our own value where it's like, damn, I'm not valuable enough to even do this or make this play. But if that's true, then where else are you playing small in your life? Where else are you playing small in your business? Where else are you playing small where you could have maybe shook hands with somebody that was like a big fish that would have changed the game for the business, but you're like, like, what if I get rejected or what if it doesn't work out the way that I want it to work out? When you start thinking about like elevating your life, your lifestyle, what you want for your family, for your last name, for your bloodline, can the person that truly changes the trajectory of their bloodline play small though? Is the person that changes the trajectory of their bloodline the one that does that, or is it the one that always goes all in on them? And so there's this constant kind of battle between the self of this is the old me, right? The false armor that we talk about in the brotherhood, and the space that I need to create to absorb and to forge the new me. And so you operating that way, maybe even unconsciously, how do you think that was affecting what was going on in the chaos of the marriage? How do you think that kind of, went that way?
So, when I signed up, my wife was not working, but it wasn't like oh babe, don't worry, you don't have to work, I got you. It was more like she did an assignment, it ended, so she was, I was like, enjoy your time, you earned it because you brought us some good resources. Good job,
Mm-hmm.
appreciate it. Good job, babe, love you. And then so I'm out of town. I'm having a great quarter, right? I'm having a great quarter, one of the best quarters of the year, and that year was really, really dry for me, so I needed that. So before signing up, scarcity mindsets, it makes sense why I was feeling that, right? And then, I'm out of town. I'm not home for like 6 to 8 weeks at a time. So the relationship was suffering. I wasn't able to fill her cup. I wasn't able to fill my cup with her. We weren't able to build the way we needed to because I just wasn't present. I wasn't there. Well, I finally finished the assignment, got back home, and I did a lot of good things in the business, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I made a decision. I trusted Phil. I believed in his message, and I was all into YouTube rather than just the calls or I was into everything, and I was really serious about this. And I just had a feeling that if you're gonna go all in on your life and try to do it in business, like why are you not doing it in your marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Because we would have stupid fights that I felt like I was the cause of,
Mm-hmm.
and she would feel ways that I feel like I did. So I really wanted to fix that because I love her and we've been through a lot, and this is what I want. Like I don't want to. I One of my biggest fears is her going back to her family and being like it didn't work out. Like to me, that would hurt me because I really respect her parents. I really respect her family, and I feel like that's the way it should be. So when I finally got back home, things really were not that great because it was rocky and I wasn't who I needed to be just yet. So I just made a decision. I finally get back home. That night was great, but I knew we were going to come back to reality and our cycles were going to present themselves again because that's what they do, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I had to make a decision. I'm like, all right, I love this woman. I don't want anybody else, and I don't ever want to be. I don't ever want to put her in a bad situation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull back on the business a little bit, even though that really went against everything that I grew up knowing, right? I'm like, I'm gonna pull
Mm-hmm.
back from the business a little bit and I'm gonna give her everything because I literally just gave the business 8 weeks nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if I felt like if I can't do the same for her, then I really don't deserve to be with her because she's an amazing person, right? So
Mm-hmm.
that's just kind of where all that started too, right? And
Yeah.
then all these unlocks started coming. All these unlocks started coming. Like I started getting extra help, I believe, because I was on the right path, because I was in
Mm-hmm.
alignment.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I would notice that dumb fight we would have wouldn't happen, or maybe it would happen, but I was committed to everything being great and us getting where we wanted to go, so that fight wouldn't be as big of a deal to me, so then it wasn't as big of a deal to her, so then we
Yep.
got over it quicker, so then there were more positive interactions than there were negative, and then before I knew it, dude, we're hardly
Mm-hmm.
fighting.
Mm-hmm.
We get in
Mm-hmm.
each other's nerves for sure. But like as far as like really, having to go to war like with your
Mm-hmm.
significant other, dude, I feel like we're really on the same team now. And
Yep.
even times where there's a little friction, like this week, we've been having some friction this week, not between us, but like other things are
Yep.
causing friction on us. I got sick this week, little
Yep.
dumb shit, but it's all free XP, man. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest thing I wanna communicate to everybody. Like, you see hurdles, cool, just jump over it, bro. It's all good. Just jump over it and keep on going. And when you need a break, take a break. And that's one of the biggest things you taught me too. Is like, don't be scared to let somebody know, like, hey, I gotta take a step back. I need to collect
Mm-hmm.
myself because there's no reason to be out here trying to fight with a dual sword. No,
Mm-hmm.
man, you get your tools right, get your equipment right, get yourself right, and go kill.
Yeah, 100%. And bro, like that, it's a great thing when you celebrated the win. You said something that I'll always remember because you're like, man, something's changed where my cup is full, but her cup is full. So in some days where like my cup starts to get a little bit empty, she'll pour into me. And some days where like her cup is a little bit empty, I pour into her. But now we just are both overflowing. And dude, that's like, and I told you this. This is one of the biggest unlocks that people don't understand. When the house is good, when the marriage is good, everything is good because now you have even more reason to show up every day. Now you got even more reason to go to war, go to battle every day for what's important to you. And you feel more at peace, And now when you think about like the foundation of this skyscraper that you're trying to build, now you got a solid foundation. Now you can build as high as you want to go without worrying about anything else because there's nothing else that's going to distract you. So talk to me about like some of the positive changes that happened. So you started changing how you operated. What did you start seeing in your wife that started to change? And like overall, what's the total transformation of that and how it feels in your day to day to be in a place of peace?
Yeah. So with myself, like I said, I was very selfish in the beginning. If something, I would always think like this. I'd be like, "Hey, I'm trying to do this. You need to help me, or just stay out of the way."
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yep.
that's gonna cause some problems, bro. That's gonna cause some problems. So, I kind of flipped it. Like I said, that was a season where I was like, I'm going all in my relationship, and if I had to put percentages on it, I'm going 80 here on the relationship, and I'll give
Mm-hmm.
20 to the business. If they want to
Mm-hmm.
bitch me out, it is what it is. I've given them 8 weeks straight, so
Mm-hmm.
she deserves this, bro. Like this is and it was, I think the biggest thing for me is that like I made not just that I made a decision, but I made the realization that like you have to fight for your own survival, bro. A
Yep.
survival in a marriage, a survival in business, a survival in life. Like, we don't get thrown out in the wild and all that anymore. So this is our game. Like this is our wild.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to control or not necessarily control, but you have to be able to manage all these different areas in the human constructed world that we've created, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my marriage was really important to me at that time because while I was gone, I missed her, dude. We missed each other. The money was good. The money was hitting the account, but it's just like, it's just not the same, bro. Like I can't go out tonight and celebrate because
Mm-hmm.
I'm across the country.
Yep.
I even bought a new truck. Yeah, I bought a work truck that, I'm really happy with. But, I had the truck, I was going to the gym, the body was good, the money was good, but I wasn't home. So
Yeah.
I was just a void, right? So then I finally get home. I'm pouring all the way in, all the way in, all the way in, and I'm noticing she's just waking up happier. And honestly, I didn't know if it was gonna work. I really didn't, but I have faith that it would if I remained that constant, that constant, uh, that variable that never changed, right? That
Hmm.
was probably the main focus for me, is be that variable that never changes and always go hard for her, always go hard for her. So I did that, and I noticed that there's less attitudes, less fights. I don't feel as like stank face all the time. I don't get that as much,
Hmm.
and it was just slowly but surely, like, things just started to work out. Like, we also had other things we had to clean up. Like, we'd have some miscommunication sometimes, but if we didn't invest all that energy into each other so hard, I think some of those small miscommunications could have turned into like huge things.
Yeah.
Like, we had a so I don't speak Spanish, right? She's
Hmm.
Mexican, and her family speaks Spanish. So we had a situation where she was like, "Hey, when you go over there, you just go kick it by yourself and you don't say anything to anybody. Why?" And I'm like, "Well, I mean, I don't communicate in the same language as them, and I noticed that you get a little irritated sometimes when I ask you to, translate."
Hmm.
So, and just that one conversation, bro, literally like was one thing that was really hurt. It hurt her. Like, she was really sad about that, and I didn't know. So
Yeah.
we had this conversation, and then the next time, literally the next day we go over there, we're all having a ball, and she was like, "Babe, thank you so much. This is what I needed. My cup is full. What do you need?" And at that point, like, I never expected that, bro. I really didn't. I just made the decision that I was going to carry whatever weight it took to make sure that my wife and my life was what I wanted it to be. And I
Yeah.
knew that, you got to have a good start, bro. Like, you can't just hang around and hope that it fixes itself one day. I knew that I was going to apply the pressure and put in some work. And,
Yeah.
it's not just one area, it's all areas.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's interesting how communication does that. It deepens the bond of the marriage. And it started with you first communicating clearly with yourself. And
Yep.
that outwardly started to pour into your life. And I think that's a great thing because when you can create that space, and we always talk about space, creating more space, creating time, creating space, removing the things that no longer serve us in life, it's crazy how shit just starts to fall into place. And I know we were talking before this while we were setting up all the tech and stuff. And you told me about your upbringing, and your father was driven, driven, driven. How was that for you to make the decision to say, this is totally opposite from what I saw coming up? And I think what I want you to expand on is how did that feel doing something different than how you were raised, but knowing that it was better for you and better for your marriage? Because people be chasing the money, they lose the family, and then they get all lost in the sauce. And nobody believes me until either they lose their marriage or they figure this the fuck out. That when I say it's not about the money, it really isn't about the money. How was that for you to go against the grain?
Yeah, that was probably, I'd say, the most difficult part because, you know, I was kind of conditioned to believe that if I wasn't going full tilt 100% into the business, I need to feel guilty about that, and it needs to be
Mm-hmm.
corrected immediately,
Yeah.
right? So there were some phone calls that were uncomfortable where I was like, "Hey, this is what I'm doing right now. So if you're just gonna have to wait. You're just gonna have to wait. There's something else on the schedule right now, and it's not budging. Like, this is what we're doing."
Mm-hmm.
And I had to stop giving some of my clients so much time, and we still made it work, of course, but like it that felt like they were gonna fire me. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
be fired and dropped from everything because I wasn't in the industry. It's very common for everybody to be like, "Oh, whatever you need, whatever you need, whatever you need, drop it a hat, whatever, doesn't
Mm-hmm.
matter."
Yeah.
"Oh, you want me
Yeah.
to go to Florida? I live in Texas. You want me to go to Florida? I'll drive right now. I'll be there Saturday."
Yeah.
Like, bro, like, I also realized I don't want to live like that. I don't want
Mm-hmm.
somebody to have me, you know, like a yo-yo or like a puppet. Just, "Oh, we're over here, we're over here." No, man. Like, I'm confident in my abilities because I seen, like, my dad, bro. Like, he puts in work. He's been doing this since Katrina, and he taught me the blueprint. So I know, and I've seen like many different levels of work, and I've seen that we're not at the bottom, and we're
Mm-hmm.
never gonna be at the bottom. And
Yeah.
if I knew, if I got the right mindset, that it would just make me even more deadly, and I
Mm-hmm.
needed that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that fear of, well, if I start to create boundaries or put the shit that's important for me first, the whole world and the business is all going to go to shit. And it doesn't happen. Why? Because people actually start to respect your time more because you respect your time. You respect what's important for you. So now, if anything, it actually deepens the trust that you have core values. And that's usually the person that people want to do business with. Somebody that is a family man, somebody that actually respects his marriage, somebody that really understands what the boundaries are. And I'm going to get you right. I'm going to take care of you. But at the end of the day, this is what's happening. So you're with it or you're not. At the end of the day, I'm going to find everybody that's with it. And if you're not that person, that's great. I hope you find the business that you're looking for, but that's not with me. And the thing that happens with that is business exponentially grows because now you can fully attract into your life and into your business everything that you are. And we attract what we are in business. So I love that, bro. Um, I think that this is one of the biggest unlocks because, there's a high divorce rate just everywhere, and people never do the hard things that you've done. Go against the grain. Have that constant conversation with yourself like, man, what do I need to change in my life? And invest the time both personally to actually educate yourself and then to do something about it and take action. A lot of people like to educate and feel like I'm trying my best, but we all know they're playing small. And you took the necessary steps, man. And that takes a true leader. And it's great that the household has that and that energy now because I'm telling you, the skyscraper can go as big as you want because your foundation's good. If you never plugged in, bro, and you weren't part of the brotherhood, the environment, if you can think back, and I know it's probably hard to do this, but where do you think your marriage, or your mindset would be at today if you didn't make that hard call a couple months back?
Yeah, you just brought up divorce. I believe that it was just a matter of time because,
Mm,
some seasons you got to be able to communicate. Hey, babe, look, I love you, but I got to devote, 80% over here to business.
mm,
And if the marriage isn't, if her cup's not full, I don't think you're going to be able to do that properly. But if her cup is routinely full, she can think back maybe on a bad day to like, okay, is this how I feel every day? No, this
mm,
isn't how I feel every day. Why do I feel like this right now? Well, I probably feel like this because Corey's at work and he's really like trying to take us to the next level. So, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say is whenever you keep everybody's cup full, it makes it more likely that you're gonna get a little more buffer in between the problems, right?
yep, yep.
And I didn't really have that buffer before because we're half full, maybe three quarters,
Hmm.
and it just wasn't really going over that ever. I
Hmm.
was doing the bare minimum.
Yep, yep. And it can get dangerous, because at some point we elevate in business, we go to a different industry, or we build upon it, or we continue to build our portfolios. But it's kind of like when you started winning that quarter, and you're just like, man, we're winning, but I'm not even near my wife to be able to celebrate it. It's the point of all this shit. Sometimes we can lose sight of that, especially when the business starts to grow. So again, bro, I'm just proud of the work that you've done. I know I said this to you before the call, but I'll give you one more shot at this because I think that it's impactful that this thing happened. So I don't know if you know this or before this conversation, but somebody actually brought your name up. I know that people probably don't know this, but we have a Titan of the Quarter award that goes out to somebody inside of the Core Initiative that really upholds the standard. And there was the first Titan that was voted in, and somebody voted you in. And they've been kind of in my ear about it a little bit. But any final guess on who you think might have voted for you, bro?
I don't know, man. Was it Keith?
It was. And if
That's
you guys don't know,
crazy.
Keith was the previous Titan. So to
That dude's a
be
beast.
nominated as like hey, keep an eye out on this dude. Like I think he's going to be the next one from the first Titan that was voted in. I think that's really cool, bro, because that means he recognizes the work that you're doing. And I think it's a beautiful thing because I told you this before we actually were able to go live. I see that you are right on the path to really getting to that breakthrough point because you did it the right way and you focus on the foundation. Most people never believe that philosophy that we have to have our foundation, our family, our household set to be able to grow because they want that money so fucking bad and they just don't get the point. And you got the point, bro. And that's why I told you this year, my goal for you is to just fucking dominate it in your industry and in your life. And I just wanted to share that with you here because I want you to now light another fire under your ass and fucking become our next Titan. So
Sir.
I'm just saying it was a good thing to hear. If there's any man out there right now who's maybe having some struggles in his marriage, or maybe he's he's not sure why he's not happy, why his business maybe making money, maybe it's not, but he just feels a little lost. Maybe he's the one playing small. Maybe he does have that pride to be the leader of the bloodline, similar to how we kind of think and operate, but he doesn't know the way forward. What type of guidance would you impart onto him now based on what you've learned so far?
Uh, Basically, man, you gotta. So a lot of us that are gonna find this type of content, we're constantly taking it in, right? Which is good. That's great. But you got to have a coach, I think. I think you need a coach, somebody who can see the whole picture, the big picture. And, you need a different perspective other than your own. Because sometimes we can be poisoned by our own perspective. Like, I thought I was somebody who could, be very empathetic. But there were times, bro, where I was just shut off because I was too drunk on my own vision. Like I had tunnel vision and I couldn't give my wife what I needed and couldn't give my business what I needed and I couldn't give my family what I needed. And when you go through those things and you look back, that shit hurts, bro. That shit hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So I would just urge you guys to whoever it is, man, find somebody, try to plug in with something,
Mm-hmm.
and if it doesn't work, it is what it is. But you gotta expect that like the first try is not always gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a long game. It's a very long game. And the only way you
Yep.
lose is if you don't give up. Like for real. And I really thought that was BS for a while, but I'm seeing it, dude. Like as long as you don't give up, as long as you don't give up, just keep fighting. Keep fighting.
Yep. 100%. Just like that tech stuff that we were fighting right before this. So tell
Man.
them, bro, where can they find you? What can they get from you? Let them know how these guys can reach you if they want to learn more about what you do, how they can support your business, or just follow this journey that you're on right now.
Yeah, so everybody come check me out on Instagram. It's at DTX Sorensen, DTXSORENSON. So basically, I'm in the insurance industry. I'm an insurance professional. I've been doing this for about 10 years now. Independently licensed for 5. I'm working for carriers. I'm working for homeowners. I'm working for contractors. Whatever you need, just come to me, man. Like, there's construction projects that happen all the time that the right number isn't put on it, right? And that's what I deal with mostly. You know, Insurance companies, whoever, they may give you a number that's not necessarily correct. Well, you need somebody who can go to bat for you, somebody that knows the industry, that knows the numbers, that can use the softwares, that understands. You need to leverage somebody like that to make sure you guys can maximize profit. And just regular homeowners, man, you guys, we don't have a lot of this information to protect ourselves. So that's what I'm doing. And it was a job for a while, but now it's become a mission for me. I want to make sure I can stick up for homeowners. I want to help contractors maximize their profits so they can provide for their families. Everybody deserves a house to live in, I believe. And I also believe that everybody, should own their a property, or, some I believe in ownership. So to protect these things, we have to have the skill set, and I possess it. So if you guys need it, feel free to reach out. I would love to give you a free consult.
Yeah, love that, brother. Well, I appreciate you being on, sharing your story, pouring into these guys as well from everything that you've extracted, man, because now it's just nothing but up. So I appreciate you, bro.
Sir, likewise.
All right, man. Peace.
Sir.